Good afternoon and welcome to the August 12th, 2025 Public Works Committee meeting. Now it's time for roll call and determination of quorum.
Meyer? Here. Pettigrew? Here. Roberts?
Here.
Maher? Here. Bieberdorf? Here. A quorum is present.
Thank you. Now it's time for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Now is the time for general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express any concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I don't have any general public comment. I don't see anybody jumping up and down, so I will close that. We will open up consent items, items 1 through 13. I will open public comment. Again, I don't see anybody jumping up and down for it, and I don't have anything in front of me, so I will close general public comment on consent items 1 through 13. I will open it up for anybody on the dais that wants to pull anything from item 1 through 13, or I'll look for motion. Yes, we will pull item 11. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve items 1 through 13 minus item 11. And we will move on to item 11. Well, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion passes. We'll move on to item 11. PW 081225-10, resolution number 25-102, a resolution relating to the improvement of the municipal drinking water system, authorizing and directing the issuance and sale of a revenue bond. And I will open it up to Councilman Mayer.
Thank you, John. My question is if somebody, maybe Daniel can answer this. I think it was just under $4 million for this bond, but I'm not exactly sure what's going to be used for.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The bond is for improvements to well number 4, and so that well includes a new pump motor as well as the well house and several other improvements. There's actually some water main that's going to be installed to that revamped well as well. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If we have no other questions, I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. That's the end of consent items. We'll move to non-consent items, items 14 through 20. I will open public comment. We do have 2 speaker request forms. One, I will start with Tonchi Weaver on item 20.
Is this on? I guess it is. Good afternoon, committee. And I'm here because I saw this item on your agenda, and a while back, concerns were raised by East River Friends about what's going on at our cement plant. So I just am curious, what is the nature of this agreement? What exactly is being taken from our landfill and incinerated at the cement plant? And the reason for my concern is, as you know, I have friends all over the state, and one of them lives in the shadow of a windmill, which is very much closer than he would like to be. But as those blades get old and need to be replaced, we know that they are an environmental nightmare because they do not decompose. So he was curious. He followed that blade after it was removed, and he followed it to a salvage yard in Mitchell. And I have the name of it, but I'm not going to share that at this point. If you want to know, I'll tell you. But that salvage yard, he inquired, what happens to those blades? And he was told that they are cut up and shipped to Rapid City to be incinerated at the cement plant. Now, if this is true, I think the community would care about that. I think this is information that people would want to know, because it begs the question, okay, are there adequate scrubbers in their systems to keep toxins from being put in our atmosphere, in our environment? So, so that when I see something like this come up, I'm going, what is it that we are giving to this private corporation to incinerate on our behalf, and how is that used as alternative fuel? I'm assuming it's used as fuel for the cement plant operation, but I think the details of this might be of public concern. So those are the questions that I have, and if you can answer them, I'll hang around and listen for that item. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think Vicky's sitting here looking at me. I know, just before we get into this, I know that this was in front of the public, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years ago when we first came into this lease agreement, and it was specifically drawn out what was going there. So I think it's an easy question to answer. So go ahead, Vicky.
Yes, and it's a good question too, because it's one that we looked at as well. That incineration that is done at the GCC site that does energize their operation does allow for many materials to be used in that apparatus, including tires. And air quality falls under my department, and I was very concerned to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to protect our air quality in this area. In visiting with DANR, they confirmed that they actually have the authority to permit for that use, and there are strict EPA regulations and filtration that must be in place and inspected on a regular basis. GCC does have that permit, and they do provide us a copy of that each year.
Thank you very much. And just kind of a side note on that, I remember years ago when they did their upgrades, they did about $100 million upgrade to that facility just for this specific issue. So anyway, we will move on to the second public comment. Brian and Joyce, is it Currington? Currington. And it is on the bridge load limits.
Thank you. Oh, she decided not to come up. Okay, I'm on my own. No, anyway, we're Brian and Joyce Kringen, the managing directors of the Chapel in the Hills. And we understand the problem with the Chapel Lane Bridge, and we fully support the project of replacing it. Our only concern, of course, is that the chapel is at the end there, and the load limits look like they're going to preclude any tour buses going across the bridge. And that, of course, it's going to give us a financial hit right there, because we do have a little over 100 tour buses every year that visit the chapel. And the way the limits are right now, none of them would be able to cross. I understand it's 18 tons right now. It's more for vehicles with a trailer. But the one thing that might have been overlooked in all this is that the tour buses that do come to the chapel do not have luggage in them at the time, and they're usually not completely full. I would say the average would be maybe 40 passengers in the buses, which would bring a bus down to about 25 tons that would visit the chapel. And so I guess it'd be interesting during the discussion later on here if I can understand the difference between a bus that has a pretty long wheelbase on it going across the bridge, and then some vehicle with a trailer. I'm still unclear on how the trailers can have the 30 tons. So we'll be interested in that. The other problem we do have is that we have about 30 buses left scheduled for this season. We end at the end of September. And it's going to be kind of hard to tell all those buses suddenly they can't come. I mean, we can do it, but it'd be nice if maybe there was an allotment for at least letting us finish out this year with the buses that we have scheduled, and then we could work together to see if there is a shuttle system or some other solution that we can come up with for the duration of the construction that'll start next year, because that's going That's a big concern for us, but maybe there is some room for a little bit of compromise here, so.
Thank you. And when we get to the discussion, we'll talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. With that, I have no more public comments unless somebody wants to jump up and down. If not, I will close public comment. We'll move on to item 14 under presentations. 2025 Bridge Inspection Significant Findings Report by Brosz Engineering. And then there's an F at the end. I don't know what that means. Okay, that's a typo.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Spencer Doctor. This is Josh Hurdle, and we are with Brosz Engineering. We're here today to talk to you about the bridge inspections we performed this year. By federal law, all bridges in the country have to be inspected every 2 years. And so I believe you guys had 7 inspections that were due for the 2-year cycle this year. In addition, we had 2 other ones we looked at, being the Chapel Lane Bridge and then Somerset Drive. And so we put together this little document here. There's 3 bridges we want to talk about: Chapel Lane, Somerset, and then the Creek Drive Bridge. And so with that, we'll just jump right into this. If you want to, we'll start on page 4, being the Chapel Lane Bridge. And I'll let Josh take it over from here. He was the main one that inspected that one this year.
Yep. All right, so this was not one that was originally supposed to be inspected this year, but we got the call that there was a hole in the deck. And that hole can be seen on page 4 on that top picture there. It was about 3 feet in diameter and went completely through that deck. The bridge was closed, well, the one lane was closed at that time when I arrived there. That was done by the city previously. And that patch was then repaired on page 4, the bottom picture there. And then we can see here on the next page, that top picture there, you can see some of the deterioration and spalling efflorescence that's present on that deck. It covers a large portion of that deck. And then that bottom picture, you can also see the deterioration at that southwest corner bearing point. There's some big spalling and deterioration on that.
And so we looked at this, pretty extensively. All the engineers in our office, we all huddled together, and we all came to the conclusion that this needed to be load posted. And we came up with a 25% reduction in what we call legal loads. The loads that are can legally drive across a bridge. And to answer this gentleman's question, the FHWA, they basically come out with a list of vehicles you have to load rate for. 5 of them are what you call a single unit truck, and then the other 2 are combinations, which would be anything with a trailer. And these are hypothetical trucks. Some of them don't exist. It's just they determine what the axle spacing and the weights of all these axles are, and those are the vehicles you're required by law to run across the bridge and perform an analysis on. And so we don't have any control over that. And when we decided to put this at 25% reduction, essentially what we did is we took the single unit vehicles and took the lightest truck and then reduced that by 25%. And then we did the same thing on the combination truck. We took the lowest of those 2 trucks, the total weight of those 2 trucks, and we reduced that by 25%. And so that's kind of out of our hands. I understand what you're saying. It's got a longer wheelbase. By definition, it's a single unit vehicle. But by the rules that the FHWA and AASHTO put out, we don't really have any control over that. We have to use the trucks that they give us and follow their guidance.
Interesting.
So.
Thank you.
Now, if you turn to page 7, this is structure 52391-332. This is the bridge on Somerset Drive. This, again, was not on our list to inspect this year, but we got a call from the city with some concerns about the deterioration on the underside of the bridge. And you can see in that top picture that that's what we call an abutment cap. It's what the beams directly rest on underneath the bridge. And you can see that it's severely corroded and losing a significant amount of section. Furthermore, if you look at that bottom picture, the underside of the concrete deck on this bridge is deteriorating, and the reinforcing, the rebar in the deck is exposed and starting to lose section. I performed a load rating analysis on this in 2024 to account for that section loss in that cap, and it's still safe as is with the current load postings of SU30 and combinations 50. But it's something we'll keep our eyes on and see if it gets any worse in the years to come. And then on page 9, this is structure 52433314. The issue with this bridge, and you see in that top picture, is the bottom of the concrete beams are spalling significantly. And it's kind of hard to see in that picture, but that bottom exposed rebar there is corroded completely through. So that bottom strand has severed. And then if you look at that bottom picture, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a crack, a horizontal crack along the beam there too. And that was not there last year. And so that is something that has progressively gotten worse since the last inspection. And so we actually ended up closing off, I believe it was the east half of the bridge on this structure. And it needs to stay that way until these beams are either replaced, or better yet, a better option would be replacing it altogether with a structure that's a little more stout, a little better at carrying the heavy vehicles that it sees. That bridge is, it looks like it's primarily handles truck traffic, semi-traffic, and the beams that are used on the structure, they're called double T beams. They have basically 2 legs and then a concrete deck. It's all in one beam. And they really don't perform very well under heavy, repetitive truck loading like this bridge sees. Typically, this type of bridge is reserved for out on a county road that sees maybe 1 or 2 vehicles a day, not much traffic. It's been our experience that they just don't hold up very well under, heavy, repeated truck loading. And so I believe there's conversations going on about what you guys want to do with that one too. And yeah, the best option is to, most likely replace it with a box culvert or something. But I mean, you could still get the beams. I talked to the precast manufacturer and they can still make them, but it just doesn't seem like they last as long as other structure types.
I'll jump in, Spencer. Thank
Okay.
you. That bridge on Creek Drive, we've already started the process to replace it with a box culvert, like Spencer alluded to. So Sarah Auden is in our audience here. She's our bridge engineer on staff, and she monitors and tracks all these people. So if you have any questions for these guys, they're more than happy to answer it. But if not, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Chapel Lane Bridge. So
Rod's got a question real quick. Go ahead.
So my question would be, looking at these pictures of corrosion, I don't know how old those bridges are. You're built 1984. So are the materials that are being used today to build bridges more resistant to this? Is there maybe routine maintenance that we need to be doing to prevent this and extend the life? Are there coatings that can be applied when this starts to happen, again, that can just prolong the life of a bridge?
Yeah, something like this, when we first start noticing that corrosion, you guys can go in and basically sandblast it down and repaint it. Bridges, these type of bridges aren't really, they're still built, but they're rare. It's not typical to see, steel caps like that anymore. Lots of times they're concrete. And there's joints on the end of this bridge, so, water, and during the winter you put salt on the road, all that leaks down through the joint and then sits on that cap and corrodes it over time. A lot of bridges nowadays, the beams are built integral with the substructure unit, so there's no joint there that allows water and other things to get down. get down in there. But absolutely, on something like this, you know, you can go out there and repaint it, and that would definitely slow down the deterioration. But like this is too late on this one. But on something that's not in this bad of a shape, you can absolutely repaint it, and it would prolong the life.
Yep. And Councilman Maher, just, you know, that's the bridge you drive across to get up to that whole neighborhood. It's the one with the beams up above that you can see. So the beams up above provide no structural addition to the bridge. They're just decorative, so. Okay, real quick on Chapel Lane Bridge. I want to give you guys a quick update. This has been an interesting challenge that we've faced, and I think everybody has really stepped up to the plate and done a great job. Before we put out any information, we did have several stakeholder meetings. Just to give you an idea of that, we met with Visit Rapid City, Solid Waste, Emergency Services, both fire and police. The area schools, we met with them twice. We met with the DOT, Street Department, Rapid Transit, and Stavkirk. They're obviously here today. We met with them off on two. So we've gone out and met with a lot of these people a lot and had this conversation. And we've been trying to work through all the issues and challenges with this. The timeline, just to let you know, is, this hole that he showed you in the picture appeared in April. Street Department got out there and blocked everything off, and we were able to bring a contractor in and do repairs. And that's when these guys came in and did their inspection. Following that, now we've already kicked in motion the design for the bridge, and we're applying for grants. We've been applying for grants for this bridge for years and years and years. It's never quite reached the level of scoring where we could get a grant. This load rating on the bridge and the deterioration we're seeing now, we think will get it up high enough that we will get a grant from the state, the DOT. That's an 80-20 grant. They pay 80%, we pay 20%, so it's really a pretty good deal for the city. I want to remind you guys, this bridge was built in 1974, so it was shortly after the flood this bridge was constructed. So it's doing good, pretty good for a 50-year-old bridge. They did add a lane onto it several years ago. I talked to the bridge engineer that did that here a few days ago, and he was like, how come that one's not good? And the question that has come up a few times in talking to Spencer and his team, we can't load rate a single lane on a bridge. We have to load rate the whole bridge, okay? So that's why we're doing it. The next thing that's going to happen is once we apply for the grant in January, I believe, Sarah, we'll apply for the grant in January. Once we hear back from that, yay or nay, we're going to go out to bid for a new bridge, all right? And we're going to get this bridge under construction, hopefully late next summer or early fall. And then it should be about 18 months for the construction of the bridge. I saw a comment that said, can we speed that up? Not a lot of opportunity to do that. The bridge essentially has to go back in the same place because of the floodplain impacts, the wildlife impacts. We have an osprey nest right next to the bridge, so we have to get all that cleared with Game Fish and Parks. It will be down to one lane while it's on construction. We will have signals on both sides. We'll have a signal out on Jackson Boulevard, and we'll have a signal on what I call the inside. So it'll all be traffic controlled by signals. And we've already started our coordination with the DOT on this project. So this thing's rolling along pretty quick. Once we hear on the grant, that'll kind of kick things in. We're confident we're going to get the grant. We think our scoring is high enough now. The other thing, I guess, like I said, the bridge posting, the load limits will be posted on the 20th. Once we were notified with the critical findings report, we had to report that to the Department of Transportation, and ultimately they report to the Federal Highway Administration. We had 30 days to post those load ratings. 30 days is the 20th. So those load ratings will go into effect. I did forget to mention we met with, did I say schools? We've met with schools a couple times. So school buses are not an issue. They're a lot lighter. I understand the Stavkirk people's concern, and I think Spencer did a good job explaining that. Are there any questions on that Chapel Lane Bridge or on the report itself?
Go ahead, Kevin. Good.
Roger, when we were out there for the news conference about the bridge,
Yes, sir.
there were some citizens there that had, they were having additions put on their house, and it was very clear that a cement truck is not going to get over that bridge. And I think they can maybe mix it on site or something. They'll come up with a solution. And then you talked about fire trucks. They're going to break the rule and go across. They
Yes, sir.
have to.
Yes, sir.
But my question is, I think you're going to solve the garbage truck problem, but I'm concerned that, you know, how when you dial 911, you get a fire truck and an ambulance. I wonder if ambulance or 911 can look at that and just maybe not send the fire truck in there as often.
I'm not prepared to answer that. I'd have to consult with Chief Culberson. The conversations we've had is because of the staffing and the manpower, they do send both vehicles. But that's an excellent question, and I'll ask the chief again, so.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Vicki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the other things that we've been asked to look at is whether or not we can identify an emergency ingress route for these kinds of emergencies and necessary needs. And that's something that staff is looking at right now. We'll be collaborating with some property owners to see what can be done. It would probably be a pretty rough road, but what could we secure to get that emergency access in and out if need be, not only for a fire, but other natural disasters.
Thank you. Go ahead, Rod.
Just a thought I would have on the fire truck, because that'd be a huge concern for me if I lived there. Why can't we put a fire truck over there, just leave it parked? And I know freezing is a concern. The National Guard has big heated tents that they use all the time. Could we collaborate with them and see if they'd be able to allow us to put one of those heated tents over the fire truck? Just a thought.
We will relay your concerns on to the chief. I'll leave emergency services in the chief's hands. He's an expert at it.
If we have no more questions from the dais, I'll look for. We have a motion to acknowledge and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. On to item 15, another presentation by Streets and Maintenance Campus Redevelopment, presented by Gerard Kemmer and Alex Cushman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Gerard Kemmer. I'm the maintenance superintendent,
And I'm Alex Cushman. I'm one of the engineers in Public Works.
and we'd like to give you a short presentation on the street and maintenance campus redevelopment. So for orientation purposes, the street and maintenance campus is located on East Main Street North and Steele Avenue. This campus houses Shop 1, as we refer to, which was built in 1952, has about 10,000 square feet of operational and administrative space. And then Shop 2, 1981, and has about 12,000 of operational and administrative space. And in the foreground there, you can kind of see the salt storage and utility maintenance building. And the layout of the campus isn't very conducive. It doesn't have a lot of good time motion, the way everything's kind of situated. So some of our proposals here would kind of reorganize that and make it more efficient. So we'll also refer to the old traffic operations building. That is where we're proposing the Shop 3, which Alex will get to here momentarily. This building was abated last year by the Brownsfield grant. We abated some asbestos and some other hazardous materials. So that is actually ready to be raised as it sits right now. We felt that this was a great footprint because it already provided, we already own the land, and it provides the utilities right there for that Shop 3 proposal. So the Rapid City Maintenance Division, as you could see, supports some of our biggest departments and divisions. We do that with 23 mechanics supporting over 1,000 vehicles and pieces of equipment at $55.8 million. And this kind of ties into some of the enterprise areas and what we support, so we kind of want to make sure that we provide that continued support for those departments and divisions. So the problem that we're running into right now is our dated facilities. Like I said earlier, Shop 1 was built in 1952 and has 6 bays. They're primarily used for our heavy-duty equipment. And the challenges that we face is due to the nature of the larger vehicles now compared to back in the 50s. We don't really have space to adequately work on those pieces of equipment. So as you can see in that lower picture there, when we have to service some of our larger fleet, we're actually doing that outside. Before I moved down to that location last year, we had some kind of rough ways that we had to do things. I know they used old Army tarps and propane heaters to heat up block engines and stuff like that. And then our large vectoring truck, we actually just serviced one of those this week, and we had to do that outside. So we don't have the adequate lifting capabilities in these structures to kind of work on these larger pieces of equipment. And right now, the additional challenge that we're facing is our electrical is outdated. We had the Public Works electrical team come down and take a look at things, and we would need a complete renovation of our electrical system down there to add any additional equipment. So basically, we're looking at a one-for-one swap on anything that we do right now. With that, for our lifts, we do have some hoists down there that are in a lockout, tagout situation. So if you're not familiar with that, that means we can't use it. We are working with a structural engineer to provide some modifications to at least use 2 of those, but that hasn't moved forward yet. So we're kind of having some workarounds there. And really, these maintenance bays aren't providing the conducive environment to support our fleet. And that's how we Alex will kind of get into this, but that's kind of how we came into that 19 additional bays that are needed with our growth of our population and our fleet. So over the last 18 months, I gave a presentation to the mayor, the Vision Fund, if you're able to see that presentation. In our discovery period, one of the municipalities that we came across was Lenexa, Kansas. They were a municipality that was kind of in the same position we are. They had a growing fleet, a growing population, and dated facilities. So they came together and they built this new maintenance facility. Now, this is complete night and day difference to the facility that we have now. As you can kind of see in the background there, it's an all-encompassing maintenance facility where we can service all types of vehicles. They have a fire truck, the loader, kind of some of the medium and heavy-duty equipment there, and then some of the police equipment there, kind of at the bottom picture. And then just the layout for time, motion, and functionality of the facility. As you can see, all their lubrication areas are kind of centralized for time, motion. They have adequate space around the equipment that they're working on. Pretty energy efficient with natural lighting and the HVAC system. So it kind of really encapsulates everything into one facility where you're not in and out, you're not opening the bay back and forth, and you're able to operate in all conditions.
So Gerard's saying that we don't have enough maintenance space. Well, just so you know that we're not pulling these numbers out of the air, we're looking at a handbook on municipal maintenance facility design. And in that handbook, it breaks down like by vehicle type, how many vehicles can be serviced by a bay, how big do those bays need to be. And that's where we're calculating these numbers that show the square footage of shop space we have today is about half of what we need. We've been talking about Shop 3, this proposed 16-bay facility, also called Phase 1. That's going to get us much closer to where we need to be. Change me. And we're not looking for anything state of the art. We're just trying to hit industry standard with this. If you look at Pete Lean, if you look at the dealerships on Mall Drive, it's really a night and day difference in the bay size, in the functionality. I would really encourage you, if you haven't done so, take a tour with Gerard and have him show you around. The facilities are dated and not functional. You've seen the wings on snowplows in the winter. Those can get bolted on a nice day in October, but when it's snowing, that plow can no longer fit inside the bay. So if it needs any maintenance during operations, you're doing that outside. It's really not ideal. We have a facility plan for the Streets and Maintenance Campus. It identified 4 phases to redevelop the whole campus and get it where we want it to be. The first phase is this new shop facility. It has an estimated cost of $8 million. It would provide 16 new bays, and it would be a pretty quick project, and with an aggressive payback period as well. I'll get to that later. Phases 2 through 4, you'll see consolidate our salt storage into one facility that frees up a lot of square footage on the campus. The other phases add heated storage for snowplows and street sweepers, and a rebuild or replacement of Shop 1 in the blue there would add space for trades, custodial, and add more functional maintenance space to the campus as well.
So some of the benefits of this project for the community, we want to be better stewards of the taxpayer money. So as we invest in these large pieces of equipment that we bring to you, we want to take care of those in a better way. So having a conducive maintenance facility to take care of this equipment, to house it, really increases the longevity of that equipment and provides the readiness for those departments that I had shown earlier. As far as our employee benefits, our employees, our mechanics are our #1 asset. They make it happen each and every day. And we want to have that climate where they want to come to work every day. We want to have that retention with them. We want to give them all the technological tools that they need to perform a lot of the maintenance on the newer pieces of equipment. Increasing their safety and ergonomics, and to basically improve their time, motion, efficiency, and productivity. And then the economic benefits, we know our mechanics do it better and do it at a lower cost. Some of our outsourcing costs last year were about $600,000 in just what we paid in outsourced maintenance, so we could easily reduce that with a better setup that we have here. We did propose about reusing the existing site and utilities, and this will definitely provide a future cost savings and a return on investment, which Alex will show here next.
So most city facilities, I mean, they're expensive to construct, but they also have ongoing maintenance costs. I mean, it costs money. This one has a payback period, which we think, not everyone can make that boast. And I'll break it down a bit more here. This is a snippet from our business plan from the Vision Fund proposal we did earlier this year. It's prepared by Daniel Ainsley, Rapid City's finance officer. And you can see at the top, annual expenses. Like, yes, we'd be looking at adding mechanics out here, but our annual savings, primarily coming from reduced outsourced maintenance costs, has a net annual savings of over $1 million a year. That equates to a payback period of 6 years, or a return on investment of 16.5%, however you want to look at that. Either way, we think that's fantastic and kind of makes proceeding with phase 1 at least a no-brainer. Here's a quote from the mayor he made last year. We kind of use that part in bold as a tongue-in-cheek joke as we were preparing these slides, but the facilities really are an embarrassment to Rapid City. There is a Connex container scabbed onto one of the buildings for added storage. Again, come take a tour with Gerard. Have him show you around and what we're working with. Just last week, we lost an employee to MDU, who's presumably going to have better working conditions. And here's another quote from John Kaiser. He was the chair of this cycle's Vision Fund Citizen Committee. While we, like I said, we applied, we did not get funding. They were, however, very supportive and gave us a shout out. In the past, mechanics here, were told that they need to save money, and that all the money they saved would go towards a new maintenance facility. Well, that was a lie. It never happened. There haven't been meaningful upgrades made to the campus since the 80s.
So this picture to me kind of paints the situation that we have down there right now. Is we're operating in this year, whatever you'd call this year, and I think we can do better to bring things up to 2025 standards, and we'd be willing to kind of take your guidance on that with Director Ainsley and Director Titus going forward. So we'll stand for any questions you might have.
Rod, imagine that.
I don't have any questions, I have some comments. When I first got on the council, I took a tour of that facility, and it's embarrassing, it really is. And about, I don't know, 6 or 9 months ago, there was a question of some vehicles we were wanting to buy, and Roger Hall had one of his men take me over there to find this vehicle, and it's a disgrace. That's got to be changed. Councilman Roberts had some suggestions on maybe an alternate plan on what to do, but I would support whatever we got to do to get that up to speed. I'm with you. At my business, I think we have 5 vehicles. We put them in every night. And even when it's 100 degrees out, they're inside. It protects the vehicle. We have huge investments in this equipment. And sun beating on them, winter beating on them just deteriorates them much more quickly. So you have my support in getting this thing up and running, and we just have to do it as quickly as we can. And we have to be conscious of taxpayer dollars and do it as efficiently as we can.
Thank you. Councilwoman Myers.
Thank you. Thank you for the tour before I started, Gerard, of the facility. I think you said something about the snow plows are worth what a Lamborghini's worth.
Ferrari.
A Ferrari. Sorry,
Yes.
I drive a Kia. I have no idea what luxury cars cost. But just having those sit outside, that's insane to me. And I think this is just brings me back to something that came up during a budget meeting last week, where it's crazy to me that our capital improvement plan relies on a vision fund citizen committee, and when the plan is they gave you a thumbs up, a recommendation, or a shout out to do this, I think that's there's something broken in the system. I don't know what a next step here is. Director Fisher, I can't remember is there anything in the comprehensive plan that would lend an opportunity to this, or?
Mr. Chair. Absolutely. When we're looking at creating our facilities and being sustainable, there's a lot of language that is within the proposed comprehensive plan. Mind you, there's been great participation from all of the directors as well as council members. And so we ensured that as a part of where we want to see the city's dollars being spent and where we want to see sustainability, facilities is definitely listed in there.
Okay, thank you. I'm with Councilor Pettigrew, very supportive of whatever we need to do for this facility.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm going to make a quick comment, and then I'm going to turn the meeting over to Rod because I have to run for a meeting. I support this 100%. Okay, the only thing I don't support is I think your vision's too small. I think that we actually need to move this facility from where it's at. I think it's on property that's too valuable to be rebuilding a city asset on. And I think that we need to probably look at the first phase of around 25 to 30,000 square feet. So it doesn't have to be all finished out. It can be room that can be grown into in the future. But the problem that I've seen in the last decade plus of sitting on the council is we do projects for today and we don't do projects for 10 or 20 years from now. And that costs the taxpayers money in the long run, a lot of money in the long run. And I think that this is a conversation we should have because I think there's some very good possibilities out there of some people that would like the property you're on in the future. And I think that there's possible ways of getting larger piece of property for the city. 13 and a half acres, almost 14 acres, seems like a big piece of property in 2025, but in 2050, it's going to seem like nothing. So, it's something that has just bothered me tremendously over the last decade plus, that we cannot have any kind of a vision sitting on this council, and I'm not saying the council members present, I'm just saying in the past, we've always looked at just taking care of our needs that we have currently, and we never look at what we need to do in the future. So with that being said, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Rod. Thank you.
You have some comments?
Thank you, Chair. My question has to do with, kind of follow on John's. It does seem like a pretty small lot. So do you have enough space for long term, or should it be considered to move? And there's one other question. Where do the garbage trucks park at night? Just curious.
So the collection trucks actually park out at solid waste at the end of their shift, so they store all their vehicles out there. I know that I believe they proposed on some renovations out there to allow them to park their vehicles inside. I think it's at the co-compost building. But as far as down at the maintenance campus and stuff, we did cite some site surveys on some other areas, and it just kind of kept coming full circle back to that campus. Because when you look at the cost of utilities and the cost of purchasing the land, we were trying to factor that in to come at that lowest value when we did present to the Vision Fund Committee. So that's why we're trying to stay in that ballpark of 8 million. Obviously, with where we want to grow this division and take care of the city and kind of our other areas with facilities and asset management and that sort of thing, having a bigger campus would definitely be conducive for in the future as we centralize our operations. So we would take whatever we can get at this point to make things better. So we'd be willing to work with you on that. Thank you.
Daniel?
Thank you. It's fantastic to hear the comments from the committee. We're very appreciative of that. For a follow-up next month, the staff then, if we hear similar comments from legal and finance, that is, then we'll provide a financing package proposal to you so that we'd be able to proceed with this. Just to let everyone know, the only way we would be able to proceed is through a bond or a loan. Just given the size project, it of course exceeds any 1 year's worth of capital that we would have. But we'll have some different options that we'd be happy to present to the council next month if legal and finance gives a similar direction.
Any other comments from the dais? If not, may I have a motion to recognize the presentation? All right, item number 16, another presentation for renewable natural gas modernization at the solid waste facility by Stacy Titus. Stacy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is kind of an exciting day for the Solid Waste Division as we have two strategic initiatives that are kind of coming together today on today's agenda. I don't know if the stars are aligned or what the deal is, but one of these projects was started back in May of 2024, and that concerns item 19 and 20. So I kind of want to make a distinction here. We have two distinct initiatives. The first item is going to be with items 17 and 18, and that's what the presentation is on. But then we're going to follow up with items 19 and 20, which is an initiative that was started back in May of 2024. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce, we have some folks from Black Hills Energy that are here today. I have Paul, and he is the Director of Origination with Black Hills Energy. And he kind of looks at the, what I would call the Renewable Energy Resources Group. And then Mike Pogany is in the audience as well. He is the General Manager of Operations for Black Hills Energy. And I heard a rumor that Wade Nyberg was going to be here, but I didn't see him. So he's a former attorney with the city that now works legal counsel for Black Hills Energy. So with that being said, what we're hoping to do is after our presentation that the committee finds favorable our proposal for a memorandum of understanding and the execution of a non-disclosure agreement with Black Hills Energy to pursue in the evaluation of what we call renewable energy or renewable natural gas. So with that, we'll tag team this a little bit. I am going to do an introduction, talk a little bit about renewable natural gas, and then I'm going to turn it over to Paul
to give you more of the details about what renewable natural gas is. So we took care of the introductions, and as I said, I will do the second bullet. Paul will do the next 3 bullets, and then we'll collectively talk about the next steps. So what is renewable natural gas? Renewable natural gas, and the industry, I had to ask Paul this question, and he said, I keep hearing about brown gas versus green gas. Brown gas would be your fossil fuels, what comes out of the oil wells in that area. Green gas would be biogas, which is the gas coming from the biological breakdown at our landfill. So we have 2 sources in the city of Rapid City of methane gas, the solid waste landfill and our water reclamation facility. So with the green gas, you would take the methane gas from these 2 facilities, remove the contaminants, primarily nitrogen and carbon dioxide. There would be a purification of the renewable natural gas, and your product would be greater than 90% methane, and it's capable of about 950 BTUs. The RNG, which is the acronym for the renewable natural gas, is very comparable to traditional natural gas, and there are stringent specifications and testing to ensure that quality. So I kind of like this little slide because it reflects the city of Rapid City except for the agricultural food waste side of things. We have 2 of these sources of methane gas. We talked about the wastewater treatment plant and the solid municipal waste. That's our feedstock or the source of the methane gas. And then from that, there's typically 3 types of products that you can use that gas for. You can do power generation. You can do the renewable natural gas into a pipeline system, or you can use it for boilers. We currently use boilers at both the wastewater treatment facility and at the municipal solid waste, but we are only utilizing a very small fraction of the actual gas that is generated. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Paul and let him talk a little bit more about the specifics and the valuation of renewable natural gas.
Yeah, thank you, Stacy, and good afternoon, Council. Stacy has described what renewable natural gas is, how it comes from organic material breaking down. So there is tremendous value to renewable natural gas. The Renewable Fuel Standard, otherwise known as the RFS, is a federal program that provides incentive for the development of renewable fuels. Basically, it requires a blending of renewable fuels within the nation's motor vehicle fuel supply. So EPA, has facilitated that in a couple different ways. The first way is something you may have heard of called RINs, Renewable Identification Numbers. Basically, that's a unique number that's assigned to every gallon of renewable fuel. That becomes the currency of renewable fuels. So basically, renewable natural gas producers generate these RINs. There's a market that transacts these RINs, and then obligated parties obtain the RINs and then retire them to show EPA that they've met their compliance. The second thing that EPA did was to designate that all pipelines in North America basically are one big pipeline. So that means, and so you can understand that renewable natural gas that could be produced in Rapid City then could be injected into a local pipeline and can be extracted as renewable natural gas someplace else within the country or someplace else in North America, such as California or Canada, lots of different markets for RNG. So because of that, there's tremendous value for RNG and the way it's transacted and the way that it's injected and dispensed into vehicles. So that's a federal incentive market. There's also local incentive markets or regional incentive markets. The California Low Carbon Fuel Standard, LCFS market, is probably the one that's most well known. That adds stacks another level of incentive and so again, brings additional value to renewable natural gas. So here's a snapshot of the current number of projects and facilities across North America that are either currently producing renewable natural gas or planned or under construction. So you compare this to, if you took a look at a map in 2010, there were only 37 RNG facilities in North America in 2010. So there's tremendous growth, continues to be tremendous growth. And one of the reasons that Black Hills Energy is heavily involved in this industry. So when I talk about our involvement, we started off by building interconnections, what are called interconnections. Developers came to us with renewable natural gas, needed to get into that big pipeline system that I described. And so we currently own and operate 10 interconnections where RNG is put into our distribution system across 3 of the states that we serve. And then in January of 2024, because of the viability and the growth of this industry and our desire to participate more heavily in it, we acquired an operational RNG plant over in Dubuque, Iowa. It's at a landfill. And so we currently are operating and own and operate an RNG plant of ourselves and have for the last 18 months. So this map shows one other interconnection that's under construction in Lincoln. There are actually several on this map that are not shown that are being contemplated. So even in our footprint, there still continues to be tremendous growth. So this is what a typical pipeline interconnection looks like. So there's a quality assurance building. As Stacy alluded to, there are pipeline quality specs that ensure that the RNG meets those specifications before it's injected into a pipeline system. That quality assurance building has equipment that continuously monitors the quality of that gas. If there's an issue, then that slam shut valve does its thing. It shuts the valve and diverts the RNG to a flare where it's burned until the situation is taken care of. So this is very uncommon. Most of the renewable natural gas that comes through the pipeline system flows and meets specification day in and day out. So I talked about a plant that we acquired back in January 2024. This is at a landfill outside of Dubuque, Iowa. Very comparable to the size of the Rapid City landfill. So our plant is there in the background. There's some pictures of our plant. So the top left picture is overall view of our facility with the receipt point that goes into Black Hills in the foreground. Picture below that is the inside of the plant showing some of the processing equipment. And then the other picture is an aerial view of the well field. We do control that well field, allows us to control the amount of gas that's flowing into that plant and balance that with the requirements of that plant and the requirements of the injecting pipeline. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Stacy for next steps.
We basically went through about a 45-minute to 50-minute presentation that we have given, and hopefully did it in an expeditious way so that we could let you see the highlights. But there are a lot of details to this. This is a very positive thing for the city of Rapid City. We currently are flaring methane gas at our wastewater plant as well as our landfill. I was remiss, Jeff Barber, the landfill superintendent, is in the audience as well here. So we do have the people if there are questions. But the next steps, what we're looking for is we are looking for alternative revenue streams for the solid waste division. So what we're doing is we are trying to find other revenue streams to help the operations out and the taxpayers and the customers. So what we're asking for today is authorization to execute the commercial non-disclosure or confidentiality non-disclosure agreement with Black Hills Energy. And Black Hills Energy Recyclers is the subsidiary or the child corporation that we would be working with, which is what Paul represents. We would also like to execute an MOU. And these documents basically lay out the terms for allowing us to move forward to explore the opportunity or a path to see if this is a cost-effective and a profitable venture for the city of Rapid City as well as Black Hills Energy. So what are the gains for the city? It's a new source of revenue. We get to reduce the management and operation costs for our gas collection and control system, because if we come to an agreement, Black Hills Energy will run the plant and run the well field, so that would be an obligation that we would not have to staff. It's a local source of energy, and it's a positive, sustainable message. I had up on the top on the action item, the future would be after the evaluation period, which we're anticipating will be done by spring of 2026, we would come forward then with a rate of return type of on investment prospectus for the council to evaluate as far as a long-term agreement between Black Hills Energy and the city of Rapid. I'll turn it over to Paul to talk about what it is in it for Black Hills Energy recyclers.
Yeah, thanks, Stacy. So, as Stacy mentioned, the purpose of this MOU is for us to be allowed to do an evaluation to look at the feasibility of one or more RNG plants, pipelines that are do the infrastructure to connect those plants. If that turns out to be a feasible project, Black Hills will then invest in EPCing or going out for bid for an EPC, which is basically engineering, procuring, and constructing the facility, whatever's necessary, whatever the evaluation shows to be feasible. And then once that plant's in operation, we will then operate and maintain that plant. We'll also take over control of the well field and ensure that we're meeting compliance that is important to the landfill, and also a substantial enough amount of biogas to keep the plant operating and producing enough RNG to keep it feasible. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Stacy.
I guess with that, that is our thank you for listening to us on our proposal, and we stand for questions.
Thank you, Stacy and Paul, for your presentation. Any questions or comments from the dais? We'll do that. I have a couple questions, of course. So how does your, this would probably be for Paul, how does your group, is there conflicts with you? And item 20 is with Colorado Energy Recyclers. Is that a whole different?
No connection.
Okay.
No.
And
Black
then-
Hills Energy and Renewable Resources, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yep.
but Black Hills Energy and Renewable Resources is a non-regulated subsidiary within Black Hills Energy.
Okay. And then, if all this starts to move forward, are there any upfront costs the city's going to have to invest in doing all this investigating and everything, or is this all on Black Hills Energy?
It's all on us. Yeah, so we'll just need permission to be able to get on the landfill into the wastewater treatment plant, have access to the data and the plans, so that we can look at how much biogas is being produced and run our numbers. So we'll hire a third-party engineering firm to do that work for us. We'll put it together in a package, and we'll be back with that package if the project's feasible. And then what it'll mean is just royalty to the city.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
Yes, sir.
We've had a motion to approve the presentation in a second. So now we will move on to the Public Works items. Carla, a question for you. We just heard their presentation on 17 and 18. Do I still need to read those two items into the agenda or not?
Yeah, please do that.
Okay, thank you. So item number 17 is PW 08-1225-12, authorize mayor and finance director to sign memorandum of understanding for renewable natural gas project evaluation. We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Number 18, PW 08-1225-13, authorize mayor and finance director to confidentially and non-closure agreement between the City of Rapid City and Black Hills Energy Renewable Resources. Can I have a motion? We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Item number 19, PW 08-1225-14, authorize mayor and finance director to sign amendment to number one, to memorandum of understanding for alternative fuel landfill diversion program evaluation, project number 2803 CIP 51424. Do we have a motion? Second? Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Item 20, that doesn't concern what we just did, correct, Stacy? Is item 20 a whole different gig?
Item 19 and 20 go together.
Okay.
As part, basically what we're hearing today is the approval of the amendment, and with that, it allows us to move to the next step, which is looking at a lease agreement with, and I want to publicly say, Colorado Energy Recyclers is a division of GCC Cement Plant. The GCC Cement Plant is a local cement plant. There are 5 of them in Rapid City. They are the energy alternative fuels division of GCC. And so that is the entity that we're working with, but it is part of GCC. So there's 2 items there. It's the lease agreement as well as the amendment.
Thank you, Stacy. Daniel, you have a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just a little more clarity on this particular item. The lease agreement would actually be so that the subsidiary of GCC would be able to occupy some space at our landfill. At that location, they would actually be shredding rubber tires. Those tires currently right now we collect and then we pay to have them hauled off. So instead they would be shredded at the landfill. Then they would be transported to their site where they would be incinerated. That process of when they actually get incinerated, that is regulated by Danner as well as the city. And so that is that's the portion of the lease agreement. There's not going to be actual incineration at the landfill site. The city will not be incinerating or anything else. We're just leasing some land to them so that they would be able to crush tires at that location and haul them away to their site. And I think these 2 items also, hopefully the council can see that this is where the landfill staff has been trying to work creatively to try to save money for our operations at the landfill, as well as increase some of our revenue streams from sources other than just landfill and collection fees.
Kevin, you have some comments?
A quick question for Stacy. So has anybody tried to estimate how much of the stuff going to the landfill could actually be used for the cement plant?
So I have Mark Truesdale is with Colorado Energy Recyclers. He's in the audience, so he could talk specifically about alternative fuels. We came forward with a 3-prong approach back in May of last year to look at 3 types of fuels that they could use at the cement plant. One of them is a biofuel, which is basically our wood chips and our wood products. We're still looking at that. GCC would like to build a facility out at their plant to process that product. And so that would be a great thing for both the city and for them. It would take products, the wood products, provide a viable resource for them for energy, and avoid us processing and having to dispose of it at the landfill if we can't sell it as compost. So that one is still in the works. The next phase was the alternative fuels program, and there were 2 prongs to it. There is the waste stream of our recyclables, which has plastics and other products that may not have a recycle market, but they can be used as an alternative fuel and combusted at the cement plant again as a fuel, which avoids us putting it into the landfill and burying it, so that is a cost savings. We're still looking at that process. The one we're moving forward with is the tire phase of it, where we will be Colorado Energy Recyclers will be processing tires to make a product. Right now, every tire we take into the landfill, we have to pay to get rid of. We can't dispose of it on site, so there's a cost associated with it. So this is a reduction in cost for us by not having to pay to get rid of the tires. And it is also a revenue generator in that we're leasing property and space to Colorado Energy Recyclers to set up this production plant. Hopefully that answers your question.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. A question or two I would have would be, will they buy the tires from us then, or the savings is us not having to ship them out? Would that be correct?
It's a very good question. The terms of the lease agreement are we are going to charge $6,000 a month rental. It's a 3-year lease, so there's $6,000 a month of rental income. We also charge them $7.50 a ton for every tire that comes in that they bring in. When we bring in tires, that revenue is around $230 a ton that we charge if we're bringing them in. The first 75 tons that they produce a product, we have no cost. But after that, we will have a cost, but it's at 1/3 of the cost it currently we pay to dispose of tires. So there is a huge cost savings too. So early numbers, I'm going to say $75,000 to $125,000 of revenue, and then probably a comparable number of cost savings in not having to dispose of tires.
So I thank you, Stacy, for clarifying that this company is a subdivision of GCC. I just think that's full disclosure, and we need to know that. I guess I would like to make a motion to move this, I guess, to the council without recommendation. I know other council members who aren't part of this group have concerns, and our concerns would be air quality. We know now the cement plant, depending on the day and which direction the wind blows, can cause some air standard, quality of air standards in Rapid City. And I'm all for recycling and redoing. We got to do it to save the earth, but I don't want us to be putting things in the air that are going to be hazardous to our citizens. And we just see it happening all over the country. So I think we need to slow it down and have some discussion at Monday night's council meeting and get the full council's input before I would want to move, make a recommendation. So I'm in charge. I don't know, can I make a motion to move this forward without a recommendation, and would I have a second? Would someone else make that motion? We have a second? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate your input on that. It helps a lot.
Thank you.
We should probably vote. Those in favor of the substitute motion, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Are there any other alderman items? Have a motion to adjourn? Adjourn. Thank you.